ישמר השבת, ישמרני, כי ישמר השבת, ישמרני, אותי לעולמי יד, בינו וביני, אותי לעולמי יד, בינו וביני, כי ישמר השבת, ישמרני, כי ישמר השבת, ישמרני, אותי לעולמי יד, בינו וביני, אותי לעולמי יד, בינו וביני.
And now we'll invite Alana, together with her sister, Amaya, her mom, Jody, her grandmothers, Holly and Cynthia, her Aunt Abby, cousins Riley and Aunt Helene. This candlelighting is on page 2.
Okay. So let's bring in the line. Say, you want to sing or you want to say it? Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik Shel Shabbat. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Thank you. Not Maya. Alana, we'll be calling you up at the end of the service to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Continue with Kabbalat Shabbat, welcoming Shabbat, on page 16. At the top of the page, from Psalm 98, is Zamru Ladonai.
Zamru l'Adonai v'chinor, v'chinor v'kol zimra, v'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, yiram hayam umlo'o, tevel v'yoshvei ba. Neharot yimcha uchav yachad harim yeranenu lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek ve'amim b'mesharim yiram hayam umlo'o tevel ve'yoshvei ba. Neharot yimcha uchav yachad harim yeranenu.
On page 19, the last words on the page, the last words of Psalm 29, Adonai Oz le'amo yitain.
Adonai Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo. Adonai Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech sound system has had a long week too. Just got to be patient. Just try acoustic.
Turn it off and use this one. Use my little phone.
All set. Here we go.
All right, we're gonna, okay, that sounds pretty good. Okay, so you wanna know the secret why I wasn't using, well, I was using this microphone because last time I heard that last week online, they could hear me as loud as they could hear the cantor, which is not what we had in mind. So I thought, all right, well, I'll just stand away and just use this mic. And anyway, now we're just using this mic. And you can hear me just fine, so that works. Where were we? Shalom Aleichem. Page 24. We're going to welcome in the Shabbat messengers of peace and quiet and beautiful singing. Shalom Aleichem, page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם שלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Turn back to page 20, Lecha Dodi. So welcome in Shabbat with light and blessing. Welcome the Shabbat messengers of peace with Shalom Alechem. And now with Lecha Dodi, we welcome in the Shabbat presence. We'll be singing together paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to 9, we'll stand up and turn towards the door and welcome in Shabbat.
Adodi לקראת כלה, ונשבר נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבר נקבלה. גמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבר נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבר נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. ומוצאי אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה. אדוני לקראת כלה, ונשבת נקבלה.
Before you sit down, we invite you to go wish someone Shabbat Shalom. Maybe it's someone that you have not met before, maybe someone that you haven't seen in a little while. Just take a moment to wish one another Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Jackie.
Really good. We turn now to page 22. This is the Psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 92.
There's a new melody that we started last week. So feel free to start singing along when it feels familiar.
Starts with Tov Lahodot. Starts with Tov Lahodot, the third line down.
Oh, לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני.
Turn to page 26, Chetzi Kaddish. We conclude the first part of the service, Kabbalat Shabbat, and make our transition into the rest of the evening service.
יתגדל ויתקדש מדבר, על דברה חירותיה וימליך מלכותיה, וחייכון ויומכון וחיית כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. אשמנה במבורך, לעולם ולעל בעלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמד קודשם. לכו אלה מן כל ברכתם ושירתם. תושבחנה ונחמתה, דמירת בעלמה, אמרו אמן.
Please rise as you are able for Baruch on page 28. If you'll take this sheet that we handed you when you came in, this is a prayer in honor of the time that we are in between night and day, and just an acknowledgement that not everyone is one or the other, that we don't live in a binary world, And in honor of Transgender Day of Remembrance was on Monday, and I'll speak about it a little bit later. We have this prayer, Twilight People, which is taking the form of, or has the same message, the same idea of the prayer that we normally do at this point, Mariv Aravim. So we read together. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. All of us are twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. All of us have many identities and loves, many genders, and none. All of us are in between roles and at the intersection of histories. All of us are crisscross paths of memory and destination, streaks of light swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our ways to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted into this twilight. We cannot always be defined. We can always say a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hayotzer et hadim dumim. Continue on the next page, on page 32. We read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We rejoice in your Torah forever.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך. אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
You may be seated, and we continue on page 36.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, It has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Michamocha on page 40.
Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele. Malchut hara'ov anecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Malchut hara'ov anecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zali anu ve'amero, Adonai yimloch, Leolam, leolam va'ed. Yadadai, dai, 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 yadadai, dai, dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 yadadai, dai, dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Ve'ne'ema ki Adonai et Yaakov. גאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. ידה די 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 די, ידה די די די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די די, ידה די 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 די, ידה די די די. Yai dai dai yai dai dai dai.
The top of the page. Read together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts, in eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporeh sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol Amon, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol Amon, ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Adonai, Elohim Sukat Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
We turn now for a moment of Misha Berach, prayer for healing. It's on page 253 in our prayer books. We just turn there in the middle of the page. It's actually a Misha Berach in two parts. The first is intended for all of us, in which we have an opportunity to think of what we need right now in our lives to make our lives a blessing. We have a moment to think about that as we sing the first part of the of the melody, and then we'll take a moment to pause to share the names of the members in our community, family, our friends who are in need of healing of body and healing of spirit, and then we sing together the second paragraph. So we begin now the first paragraph.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us sing Amen.
If you'd like to come to the microphone after I finish reading this list to tell us another name, you're welcome to do that, or to stay in your seat and say a name out loud. We hold in our hearts for healing Marianne Aronson, Julie Arnheim, Peggy Boone, Alex Botkin, Hinda Sarabat Khana Pearl, Jerry Chesson, Sarabat Khana, Rabbi Sion David, Arnold Davis, Barbara Davis, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Melissa Fisher, Amanda Goldstein, Kate Can, Naum Kaplan, Al Camper, Audrey Lazar, Tony Linder, Sally Littman, Susan Lothar, Laura Marshak, Agnes McCulley, Hal Mendelowitz, Yermatia Shulamit Bat Miriam from Baruch, Beatrice Jean B.G. Morrison, Roberta Needleman, Ellen Newberg, Stefan Patterson, Lev Podorovsky, Susan Rosen, Charles Rosenblum, Oliver Scheibel, Steve Schimmel, Rabbi Bert Schumann, Myron Sherman, Toby Shimkin, Bill Stein, David Wallach, Jonathan Wind, Ralph Wise, Kayla Wright. Are there any other names for Misha Barak tonight? Continue with the second paragraph of Misha Barak.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We turn back to page 44. Top of the page there, we join together in V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, asod et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית לעולם.
Begins with a meditation on page 46. We are going to do that together and then continue on our own silently through Oseh Shalom, which is on page 62 up till then. Just want to point out that on page 50 in the Givurot, we talk about, Givurot means mighty or strong. And this is a prayer that acknowledges God's strengths and all of the things that God does. So when you're reading and you see giving life to all, supporting the fallen, healing the sick, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust, we invite you to pause for a moment, maybe to focus on, in Hebrew, the phrase matir asurim, and in English, freeing the captives, because we are focused, especially our energies and our prayers, our thoughts on the hostages that are still not at home, haven't been taken out of Israel. And so we're especially thinking of them tonight, Matir Asurim, the one who frees the captives. Please rise. We join together on page 46 with the beginning of the tefillah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Amen. Shalom, Imromav, Uyase Shalom, Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru.
This past Tuesday, Rabbi Larry Friedman, who's our JJEP director, religious school director, Rabbi Lakatz, who helps us out, does some of our programming, and I, along with about a half dozen members of Rodef Shalom, were among about 500 Pittsburghers at the March for Israel in Washington, D.C. Were any of you there? It was a long day. We left Pittsburgh at 5:30 a.m. and we returned about 11:30 that evening. And in between, we walked a lot. We rode on very crowded metros, which I had actually forgotten about COVID, believe it or not. And there were hundreds of kids in our metro car, and my husband was like, COVID. And I thought, I didn't even remember about COVID. But so far, so good. We're healthy. So we rode on crowded metro trains. We stood a lot. Some of us saw people we knew from other times and places in our lives. Some people were moved to tears by the messages, by the spirit, by the sheer number of people in one place. Some felt totally at home. Others felt conflicted. Some, mostly the high school students in large groups, entire schools, looked and acted like they were at a huge party. They were very happy to be there. Lots of people were wearing Israeli flags as capes. People erupted into chants throughout the entire event, "Bring them home now," referring, of course, to the roughly 240 people held hostage by Hamas. We listened to speakers including Israeli President Isaac Herzog, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the new House Speaker Mike Johnson, the Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the families of a few of those 240 hostages. On that day, it was the 39th day of captivity in Gaza. Natan Sharansky, one-time political prisoner in the former USSR, and now an Israeli politician, was there. A couple of popular Israeli musicians, Omer Adam and Ishay Ribo, performed along with the a cappella group, American group, the Maccabees. The stated purpose of the rally that drew in somewhere between 250 and 290,000 people. Those stated purposes were continued American support for Israel, a rejection of anti-Semitism, and the return of the hostages, which is where that theme of bring them home now keep coming up. I have been talking about the importance of retaining our humanity. This is my consistent message, and compassion since October 7th. But this evening, I'd like to focus on another topic, what it means to show up. To Israelis watching this rally from afar, our showing up in Washington meant that for the first time in over a month, an indescribably horrible month, that the Israelis felt like they were not alone. In response to the photos on the rally, one writer, some of you may be familiar with, Sarah Tuttle Singer, she just put up on her page, "To my brothers and sisters in America, thank you and I love you." Rabbi Ezra Endy, who served as a rabbi at Temple Sinai, some of you may remember Ezzy, he now leads a small community in Jerusalem. He wrote, "It's as simple as this. We are one family apart, and our mutual responsibility for one another leads our way. He meant, we are one family split apart. Thank you for proving it with your feet. It warms our hearts and strengthens us without measure. To the families of the hostages, that rally meant an opportunity to say their loved ones' names and to feel and see the care and concern that we all have for them. One member of the Jewish community in Pittsburgh called me just to tell me that she felt hope because there were so many young people at the rally. She said, it just made me feel hopeful. One of my own takeaways was that the people of Israel are grieving. It's the entire nation. And we were there kind of like you come to Shiva, kind of like you go to Shiva, to offer comfort, to listen, to just be present. The morning after the rally, so Wednesday, a family gathered at Homewood Cemetery to bury their mother and grandmother. It was a tiny version of what had happened in Washington. A family was in grief, and others were there so that they didn't have to be alone, because no one can bear their grief alone. And so we showed up at that cemetery to offer comfort, to listen, and to just be there. Last night, a large group, this is something I did, it was the first time I'd ever done something like this. It's called a Tehillim rally. A large group gathered to say psalms for the recovery, for the complete healing of a seriously ill 13-year-old boy who goes to Hillel Academy. The Tehillim rally is a recitation of psalms. It's meant to provide strength and comfort to the family and to send those prayers for healing. At the end, the rabbi said that the prayers help, and he said we have to keep on offering the prayers. I hope so. I hope so. But I am 100% certain that the gathering itself, a room full of people praying on behalf of a child, connecting with one another, I am 100% sure that the gathering helped the participants and the family, and that the gathering gave them hope. This morning, some of us gathered to welcome a little boy, an 8-day-old boy into the covenant with his bris. And tomorrow morning, we will celebrate with a young woman and her family as she becomes bat mitzvah, you. No doubt our encouragement, our kind words, our explanations of Mazel Tov will contribute to the joy of Alana and her family, and so will our presence, just being here. The Israel rally sparked a conversation about not only how many were there, but actually who was there. So you might have heard disparate reports. I heard that 250 Jews were there. I also heard that 250,000. 250,000. I also heard that it was 290,000 Jews. Someone remarked, the largest gathering of Jews since Mount Sinai. It's also true that some of the people there were from the Christian right, which is a topic for another day. But some said there were as many as 50,000 from that group there. But if we just take that 250 minus those 50,000, it's still pretty amazing and important that around 200,000 Jews attended the rally. But minus those 50,000 other Christians who were there for other reasons, where were our friends? Israelis were comforted by the support of American Jews. But most of us would have felt better knowing that our own Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, atheist friends were there, or are there alongside us. So this last thought, that maybe it was only, out of the 250,000 people there, 200,000 were Jews, and where were our friends? That train of thought took me to Transgender Day of Remembrance, and I promise to show you how I got there. But before I do that, let me just tell you about Transgender Day of Remembrance. Transgender Day of Remembrance is always November 20th, which is Monday, and it is part of Transgender Awareness Week. This time is set aside for the LGBTQ plus community to celebrate, uplift, and honor the trans community. It is a time to challenge anti-trans legislation and negative rhetoric, to strengthen the trans community, and to solidify allyships, so outside of the trans community with the trans community, and an opportunity to advance equality and justice. Because it's called Transgender Remembrance Day, it is a time to remember the trans people who were murdered because they're trans. Between the counting of the year goes from October to September. Between October 1st, 2022 and September 30th, 2023, there have been 320 trans and gender diverse people killed. 320 in 1 year. The vast majority, 94% of them, were trans women, and most of them, like 88%, were Black. At the end of the service, we will recite a special El Malei Rachamim, a memorial prayer for the proper rest and God's protection of the deceased, of those deceased. So, the connection between how many and who was at the Israel rally and Transgender Day of Remembrance? Here's what I was thinking. What if there was a gathering of queer people in DC in support of their lives and freedoms, against homophobia and transphobia, and calling for an end to violence against trans people? Would we go? If you don't count yourself in that, as a member of that community, would we go? After all, most of us support human rights of trans people. We want to eliminate homophobia and transphobia, and we would like to see an end to violence against trans people. So would we go? Or would we attend such a gathering? Or would the accounts afterwards be just the number of queer people there? If these last 5 years, from the murder of the 11 in the synagogue shooting, to the marches for Black Lives in 2020, to the rally this week in Washington, have taught me anything, they have taught me the value of showing up. We show up for those in sorrow, and we show up for those who are celebrating. It makes a difference. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We continue now with Aleinu, page 282. Please rise as you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. On the back of the sheet where we read the Twilight People is a Transgender Day of Remembrance, Yizkor, a prayer of remembrance for those who died sanctifying their names. God, full of compassion, remember those whose souls were taken in transphobic violence. Those souls reflected the tremendous, multitudinous splendor of your creation. They illustrated your vastness through their ever-expanding variation of being B'Tselem Elohim, of being made in your image, in the divine image. Source of mercy, provide them the true shelter of peace that they deserved in this world. Those deaths were caused by hatred in our society. It is upon us to repair the brokenness in our world. May we have the strength to sanction justice speedily and in our days. For those who died by murder, we remember them. For those who died by suicide, we remember them. Nurturing one, comfort all who are mourning, grant them healing in their hardship. V'nomar, and let us say, Amen. Kaddish is on page 294. In just a moment, I'll ask you to rise. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. Within the last week, Arlene Roberts, and within the last, you can sit down for a sec if you want to, it's a long list. Within the last 30 days of the Shloshim period, we hold in our hearts and remember Robert W. Bob Mandel, Maria Rick, Marilyn Rhodes, M. Charles Chuck Richbloom. We also remember those who died at this season in years past and whose yahrzeit we observe on this Shabbat: Janet Lee Barmack Snyder, Francis Beckerman, Leonard Beldner, Annie Busis, Jenny Cantor, Arthur M. Damick, Harold Eitzel, Don Fitzgerald Swedell, Gerald Goldberg, Elsie Jacob, Edna Bell Carlson, Dorothy Margolis, Joseph Massoff, David J. Neustadt, Lee A. Rosenblum, Eileen Ruttenberg, Herbert M. Shook, Dorothy Sternberg, Myron Swartz, Jean Bell Teplitz, Lois Unell, and Joseph A. Wolf. Are there any other names for Kaddish tonight? Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be for blessing. Please rise as you are able. Page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divrachu te v'yamlich malchute. V'chaychon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. V'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei d'kudasha baruchu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. In just a moment, we will be calling Alana and her siblings, David and Amaya, to come to the bima so that Alana can lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. The service tomorrow morning, where Alana becomes bat mitzvah, is at 10 o'clock. So we wish you mazel tov, you, Alana, and all your family. We are going to be hosting online candle lightings each night of Hanukkah. Today is the 5th of Kislev, so it's in like 20 days is Hanukkah. If you'd like to lead online from the comfort of your own home, please be in touch with Paige in our rabbinic office, and she can set you up. Each session is just going to be for about 15 minutes. You don't have to plan a lot, just a nice way for us to sort of be in each other's homes. I found out this afternoon that there is a vigil for the hostages. I'll bring them home, Pittsburgh vigil at noon on Sunday. It's 45 minutes, scheduled for 45 minutes on the corner of Darlington and Murray. That's behind the JCC, the Darlington building. If anyone's interested, noon to 12:45 on that corner. We thank Luke for making us seen and heard. And as always, it is our honor and our privilege to work together. Our music director, Don McGahan, cantor Toby Glaser, and me, we're so happy to be with you and to be singing and praying and just being part of a community together. Alana, come on up. Kiddush is on page 5. Wait a minute. Hold on. That mic
sorry. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotai v'tzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahavat uvratzon hilanu zikaron l'ma'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila l'mikirei kodesh zeher l'tiyah mitzrayim kivanu baharta ve'otanu kidashata mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodsho v'ahavat uvratzon hinatanu baruch atah Adonai b'kodesh haShabbat. What? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lahem min haaretz.
Amen. Give you some challah. We turn to page 353 for Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Give this back to you.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
Shabbat Shalom.